All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the League Express podcast. My name's Jake Kearnan, and joining me as always is the editor of League Express, Martyn, Sadler, and Martyn. Another special guest today, mate. We've got Garry Hetherington joining us.
Yeah, we would normally have been introducing Garry as the chief exec of Leeds Rhinos, but that's no longer the case, unfortunately, for Leeds. But of course, it's an exciting time for Garry with his involvement with London Broncos. Welcome on board, Garry. Hopefully you've got quite a bit to reveal about London's progress and your reaction to the fixtures that have come out now and so on and so forth. So hopefully, mate, we'll have plenty to talk about. I believe you're actually in your old office at Headingley. You were saying before we came online that you were clearing the office out. So I assume it's a long job.
It is a long job. After 29 years, I've been a bit of a hoarder. So, I'm coming across things. Oh, I don't want to throw that away. But then again, it's no use to me and it's no use to anybody else. So off it goes. So, yes, it's a bit of a slow process, but I'm getting...
Yeah, well, I think actually if you put most of that stuff on eBay, I think you'd sell quite a bit of it, mate. So there'd be a lot of people wanting to buy it.
Interesting confidential stuff as well from past and so on. But I think they're all heading for the shredder.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, mate, another 29 years at London Broncos and you might be emptying your desk again. You'll be a bit of an old bloke by then, won't you?
Oh, well, yes, but I'm hoping it's take a bit less time to make a bit of progress. It's an exciting project, and I'm looking for. Well, I'm already involved, but I'm looking forward to it as well.
Yeah.
Is it emotional, Garry, for you cleaning out that office after so long? Like, is it tough for you leaving Leeds now and I guess moving to other pastures?
Well, it's a change. It's a change in my sort of lifestyle. Effectively, for 29 years I've been, I'm in at work at 6:30 in the morning. Not because I have to be, but I am. I'm up and running, and I'm here and I'm busy every day, and I've been for 29 years. So, in all aspects of the business. So, of course, that is a fundamental change that I'm now no longer involved at all. I'm still on the Players Association Committee, which I'm very proud to be so. And I'm still involved with the Leeds Rhinos Foundation, which does a great job. So I'm very proud of that. But effectively, my relationship and responsibilities at Leeds Rhinos have come to an end. I'll still be a supporter, of course, and I'll hopefully come to most games as well. But no, my focus and attention now is very much focused on London and what needs to be done there.
Well, that's great, Garry, and it's always better to look forward than to look back, isn't it? So let's just talk about London. Fixture list came out this week. Your opening game is at home against Widnes. I think Widnes are one of the two additional teams you're playing, that fall outside the pendulum fixtures. So, but that's a pretty exciting opening game of the season for you, isn't it?
Absolutely, and there's so much history, of course, with London and Widnes. Of course, back in when Fulham was created, in 80, Reggie Bowden and a lot of his his Widnes players actually created the nucleus of that team, and it was a very successful team. And so there is quite a historical context to London and Widnes, and of course Widnes are a really strong team in the Championship. It's a great opener for the Super League, and we want to start with a bang and have a good crowd at the stadium and a good rugby league event, and Widnes are great opponents, and I think it's one to really look forward to.
Absolutely, I was at that opening Fulham game against Wigan back in 1980, mate. Those of us of a certain age are old enough to have been there, and it was a great event. If you can match that event. It would be a terrific start at the Cherry Red Records Stadium, and hopefully you'll manage to draw in a pretty decent crowd for that game.
Yeah, I mean the season starts early. It starts in the middle of January, which is hardly summer rugby.
No.
And the club is just coming together, getting the squad together, and making a variety of changes. So there's a lot to be done and a lot going on behind the scenes. And that game will be upon us very quickly. So I think and it is important to start off well and start off with a really good event. But I think that what we want to see is continued progress and development with the club both on and off the field, and that's going to take the full season in actual fact. But I think the squad's going to it's a strong squad. I think the rugby operation is been strengthened with Jason Demetrio. Danny Ward, of course, is at the club. People like Mike Eccles and Don Fenton have been there a long time and know London, know the club inside out. I think we've got a great training venue at the former London Irish training venue, so that's going to provide a home for the club. It'll provide the training base for the first team. It'll provide office accommodation for the new staff that's to be appointed. It'll provide a venue for the women's team, for the reserves team. It's been a home. It's been a good place for the supporters to visit as well. So I think that's important for London to have a home in actual fact. And of course, matches will continue to be played at Wimbledon Football Club, with one significant game also going to be played at the Stoop as well. So an exciting season ahead. We're looking forward to it.
Yeah, the new training centre, Gary, is a fantastic thing, isn't it? I mean, I believe you're going to be the primary tenant at what is it called, the Alexander Centre?
The Hazelwood Centre.
Hazelwood Centre, yes. Sorry, getting it wrong there. The Hazelwood Centre.
Yeah.
Which is used to be the headquarters of London Irish, didn't it, at one time before they went into liquidation?
Fairly new. It's only about 7 or 8 years old. It's got other sort of community users as well, but London Broncos will be the prime user, prime tenant. It's got 5 floodlit pitches, one of them an all-weather pitch. It's got a fantastic clubhouse, fantastic gymnasium, fantastic office accommodation. It really is state of the art. It's as good as it gets. So that's a great addition to the club's facilities.
As good as most Aussie venues, Jake, I would say.
Yeah, well, I mean, I obviously haven't been there to see it for myself. I'm only going off of what you've told me, Martyn. But it sounds like it's going to be one of the best bases in all of Super League.
It is. It's I think when we developed Kirkstall which was the old Headingley Rugby Union ground 20 odd years ago, in many ways that gave us a bit of a jump on other Super League clubs, because clubs didn't have proper quality facilities. They've now got them, of course. Times moved on, and most clubs, and in fact probably all clubs, have got a really good training facility. But at Kirkstall, we developed that, and it was an ideal base, not only for Leeds Rhinos' first team, but for our academy, scholarship, women, etc. It's become a real centre of excellence for rugby league in the city. And that's now what we're going to have for London, and probably for the first time in actual fact, a centre of excellence for rugby league, and a great facility for the London Broncos teams and all the clubs associated with them, and something to be proud of. So I think that's a significant asset that's now part and parcel of London Broncos.
It's going to be bigger than Kirkstall, though, isn't it? With all those pictures, it's significantly larger.
It's significantly larger. It's got car parking on site. It's in a really nice area. I mean,
Sunbury-on-Thames, yeah.
A lovely area of West London. It's not too far from the Stoop, actually. Not too far from Wimbledon as well. But it's in a really nice area. That's where most of the players from overseas will be living in that area, and it'll provide that home that the club has probably never had, which is quite significant. And it's a terrific base, and it's state of the art. Really, it couldn't be better.
I'll tell you what, Gary. As a media person these days, I'd love to see it. I wonder whether you might consider holding a media event there at some point, so we could all come down and have a look at it.
For sure, Martyn would look forward to that.
Yeah, having a facility like that, Gary, how crucial is that when you're bringing players through, you're trying to recruit players, you're bringing them through a facility like that must help in terms of getting them to come to your club.
Absolutely, players spend a lot of time at that training facility, and not only do they train there, but they actually eat there. They socialise there. That's a place it's a home effectively, and so it needs to feel like a home for the players and indeed the staff. So we're going to have everybody based down there. All the staff are going to be based down there as well. So there's a connectivity. The London Foundation, which has got a terrific job to do in community rugby league, will need to have a presence there as well. So it brings everybody together under one roof and to socialise and to work together, which I think is quite important.
Will most of the players be living in the fairly near vicinity of that area, Garry?
Yeah, they will. Yeah, I mean, as we know, London's a difficult place to get round. Communication is not easy getting across London.
No.
So players will, players will be living in that region and fairly close to the stadium. So I think that helps as well. That gives a bit more permanence to the London Broncos club.
Can I just ask you how it came about, that deal? Because it's I would say that it's transformational for the London Broncos and for rugby league in London. And I mean, it's a terrific development that gives me a lot of confidence in the future of the game in the capital. But I'm just curious to know how it came to happen, how you came to move.
Well, London Irish Rugby Union Club, they went bust, and so their affairs are still being managed by the administrator. And Hazelwood is part and parcel of their complex. Now it is for sale, but of course it can only be used for community use and for sport as a sporting facility. And it has got some other sort of London Irish amateur teams still are users there, but basically it needed a primary tenant. It used to have the England or the Great Britain Rugby Union Nines team were based out of there, and Joe Lydon was very much involved and oversaw that process. So they used to use it, and then of course they went bust as well, or went out of business, and of course they are no longer users of Hazelwood. So it left a vacancy for a user. And of course, we were sort of in the market. Roslyn Park had provided the base for London Broncos for quite a number of years and was a solid facility. But this provides something quite different and something with a home for all the other teams and connected parts as well. So it was available, and we entered into discussions with the administrator, and when Grant Weishall and Darren Lockie came over, they went and visited it, had a look at it. So it's as good as it gets, is this place, and this is where we need to be.
I assume it's not coming cheap, though, presumably.
Well, it's affordable, which is the main thing. It is affordable, and it ticks all the boxes that we require ticking, and it brings the club together, which is quite important. So we're not as spread out as we were, and I think that's important to build a club and build an operation. You've got to have connectivity, and you've got to bring your people together, and it's important for the women's team for them to be part and parcel of the setup and to feel like London Broncos players and like be part of the club as well. Just the same with the reserves, just the same with other rugby league entities.
Absolutely.
How has that relationship gone with obviously the new owners, Garry? You're obviously new to the club yourself. I imagine there's a lot of coming together and trying to establish what the club's identity is, and I guess it's probably hard to come to that when you probably don't have the playing group and everyone in the same room to try and decide those things.
Yeah, well, my involvement started quite a long time ago, and it was to help London Broncos find new ownership. And I made an arrangement with the previous owner, David Hughes, somebody who I'd known for a long time, of course. And David's been a great servant to rugby league in London, and so that's the plan. Now, I took ownership from David, and then the plan is to bring in other shareholders, and in Grant Weishall and Darren Lockyer. They've come fairly late to the party, but they're significant in terms of they're going to be the majority shareholders, and of course providing much of the funding that's going to be propelling the club to a bigger and brighter future. So I think that they are very significant, very important. Obviously, Darren Lockyer's profile in the game is very significant, albeit in Australia, but he's been the captain of the Kangaroos so many years. He's passionate about this project. I think the Australians can see that London can significantly help the game in the UK, a successful London operation. And that's what this is, Jake. This is a project. It's not a survival. It's not how can we keep London Broncos in business. It's not a survival project. It's a project to create a successful team and club, and in also to be able to connect with all the rugby league supporting activity within not only London but the south of England. We want to strengthen those community clubs. We want to create new community clubs in the region. We want to create new player pathways for both male and females. We want to generate much more commercial interest in the game. We want to generate more television viewers for London Broncos and indeed for the sport of rugby league. We want more people from London and the south to attend Wembley every year to be supporters at the Rugby League Cup final. In other words, we want in London to be less, and rugby league to be less of a secret in the biggest region of our country, London and the south. And at present, it is a bit of a secret. And so we want it to be less of a secret, and we're wanting more people to engage with the sport, connect with the sport in different ways, as fans, as sponsors, as players, etc. And it's something that is not a quick fix, but I think the strategic plan we have in mind is going to lay down some very firm foundations, and we can make a fair bit of progress.
Can I just ask you, Garry? Obviously, we had 60,000 people at Wembley just over a month ago to watch England and Australia. And I'm told that probably at least half of those people, or half the tickets were sold to people with address postcodes in the southeast of England, obviously including London. Do you have hacks? I mean, if you could get, even half of those people, you'd be selling out every week at Wimbledon. Yeah. Do you have access to that database? To sell your club, for example.
Well, the RFL do have that database and all the contact details. And of course, this project is not just about London Broncos. London Broncos need to play their part. They need to be successful on the field and connected and supportive off the field. But this is a project for the game. And the Rugby League, the RFL, have got a significant role to play. And I'm very pleased to say that they are very, very receptive to actually this opportunity that it's going to present to them. So we want to create a marketing strategy and a marketing plan for London and the South that involves the RFL, because not only do we want more people to come and watch London Broncos at the home games, we want more people to watch the game on television. We want the 100,000 Australians who live in London to start watching more NRL games on television, more Super League games on television. We're wanting to actually broaden the base of rugby league interest throughout London and the South. And that's going to require all the connected parties to come together. That's the London Club, that's the London Rugby League Foundation, that's the RFL, other connected parties as well. Hopefully Sky Television have got a role to play. And I think there's so much opportunity in London and the South for the game. We need to exploit it. It's never been exploited, so that's a challenge to start and exploit it.
It sounds like from your recruitment, Garry, it looks like you won't have any shortage of fans from Papua New Guinea. I'm sure there'll be a lot of PNG fans that'll be jumping on board the London Broncos.
Well, we're looking at trying to create a supporter base in Papua New Guinea. In fact, that's a big project that we're on with at present, creating supporter clubs around the region, predominantly London and the South. What I found about the London supporter base, they come from all over. People travel for 3 hours to go to a game. And so there may well be people, we know of different families in Southampton that travel to home games. They probably don't know each other, so we need to connect them all. So we are in the process of creating supporter hubs in and around London and the South. But we can have some in the North as well, because there's a lot of Londoners and people living the north, and we want them to attend away games and to travel to occasional home games as well. We want to create an interest base for London. I believe that there's a lot of rugby league fans who are always going to be primarily supportive of their own club, but their second club could be London Broncos and Rugby League in the South. They could become a member of London Broncos. It only costs £25 to become a member of the club and connected and get all the latest information and everything else. So we're wanting to create a membership throughout London and the South, but also throughout Rugby League territory, and to try and get supporters of other clubs to also take London on board as their second favourite club.
One thing that you didn't do, Garry, and I'm glad you didn't, was to change the identity of the London Broncos. You've talked about rebranding, and of course you've recently brought out the shirt that the club's going to wear in 2026. But you didn't rebrand away from the London Broncos name, and I'm very glad you didn't, because I think although it's never quite achieved its potential in London, at least there is still a lot of recognition for the London Broncos name. Yeah. It is quite historic, and of course I assume that bringing Darren Lockyer on board, with his obviously his role with the Brisbane Broncos over so many years, helped to retain that name, presumably.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think it was an important process to go through, and that question needs to be asked: would it be advantageous to actually change the brand and change the name? So that needed to be researched, which was, and I have to say that Freshwater, which is an agency that's got a base in primarily in Australia, in Sydney, but have got base in London as well. They've done a terrific job in terms of researching all that piece of work. And looking at all the different connotations of London Broncos, could be London something else, the pros and the cons, the advantages, the disadvantages. So that was a pretty comprehensive piece of work that went ahead. And I'm pleased, like you are, Martyn, that the name has been retained, because I think there is some history and heritage there. There's also some connections and connectivity with the Brisbane Broncos. Of course, Darren Lockyer is a director of Brisbane Broncos. It's such an illustrious career there. So I think there is there's some strength in retaining that brand and building it and developing it. And I think, what we're trying to create is a bit of patriotism. London is the capital city of England. We wanted to create the sense of London being a proud rugby league city. And there's not many teams in London carries the name of London. So we're one of the few. We're one of the few, and we want everybody in London to feel proud of its rugby league team.
Yeah. I mean, there were some people, weren't there, who suggested that the London name, people in London identify with different parts of London rather than London as a whole. But I think that's a bit fallacious. I think, personally, a team called London, is far better than if you'd renamed the team Wimbledon or something like that. London has a ring to it that you can't deny, in my view.
And London is one of the world's capital cities, and it's a great brand. And I think for that to have an association with rugby league is a strength to rugby league as well. And what rugby league needs to do is to strengthen its heartlands, of course, which are in the north of England, but also start to actually expand. And London and the south of England is an obvious place, because there's a lot of people from the north that live in London. There's a lot of southerners who love rugby league. There's a lot of southerners that don't know about the history and heritage of rugby league, and once they do get to know about it, the passionate followers of the game as well. And I'd like to think that the ultimate success of London can actually encourage and maybe promote other areas and other regions to also create a new rugby league base. I think there could and should be more than one team in London. In future years, there might be two. There could even be four teams in London in the south. But I think places like Wales, is an obvious targeted area. The southwest of England, as a sport, we do need to become more national, more connected to the United Kingdom.
Just saying, the Welsh Rugby Union seems to have decided to ditch the Swansea club, and I think that gives us the potential to go down to South Wales. And I wrote an article for Rugby League World magazine, which I think I sent to you, saying that the NRL, if it wants to come and make an impact in British Rugby League and it wants to know how to spend money to make the product more valuable, then it ought to look at South Wales, perhaps creating a new club in Swansea, perhaps playing, it's talked about playing NRL games all over the world, isn't it? And, playing an NRL game even in South Wales, and let's take a Super League game down there as well. Let's have a coordinated strategy.
Absolutely not. Well, and that's what we need, Martyn. The game needs, and it's never had one, a strategic plan, and that needs to be linked with the NRL as well. They've done a great job in Australia, in New Zealand, in the Pacific Islands, in further popularising their sport, and they've done a great job. We need to do the same in the United Kingdom and in France as well. And there's only two major competitions in the world. We need to have a strategic plan which we're both aligned to. But Wales is a rugby-loving nation, and there's so much proud history and tradition of rugby league in Wales as well. And so many great players have come from Wales and been great iconic ambassadors for our sport. So I think that, rugby league, I think the new administration at the RFL needs to be quite visionary, needs to be looking at tackling some of the day-to-day problems that we've got, but also looking at how can we expand and grow our game and capitalise on its abilities. Wales is an obvious target to actually develop rugby league further than it is at present.
There's actually more junior rugby league in Wales now than there's ever been. There are lots and lots of junior teams, and we list the results in League Express, and it does seem to be growing. It's centred on Neath, which is the next town to Swansea, and the interest does seem to be developing in Wales. It's really it's a bit like an apple waiting to be plucked off the tree, isn't it? As far as I can see.
Well, as I said, it's a rugby-loving nation. Is Wales, and I think the population of rugby followers in Wales are pretty similar to the rugby league followers in the north of England. They're from the same sort of background, the same passion for the sport, and I think they can be easily converted to become rugby league fans. They can become fans of both games, both rugby union and rugby.
Nothing wrong with that.
We want people to be fans of both games. And both games have got the differences. But I think you're right, Martyn. I think there's enormous potential in Wales for rugby league. What it needs is our governing body, our leaders, to be actually quite adventurous, to look at pulling in partners, and one partner could be the NRL, strategic partners to actually be part of a global plan that's going to popularise our sport in England, France, the United Kingdom, the Australasia, and indeed the other parts of the world as well, possibly the United States of America.
Absolutely.
I was going to ask you out of my own self-interest, Garry, is there any plans to have a bit of a warm-up game with the Brisbane Broncos ahead of the World Club Challenge next year? Could we see the Broncos spending a few nights in London?
To be honest, I'm not sure what their plans are. Obviously, Darren Lockyer will be very much ahead of that in terms of he's the director of the Brisbane Broncos. So I'm not sure of their plans, but we would do everything we could to actually make them feel welcome in England and be able to assist them. But of course, we're also pretty keen for Hull Kingston Rovers to be able to beat them. I think if they can beat them, that'll be a tremendous achievement by Hull Kingston Rovers. It'll be a great boost for the game in England and for the Betfred Super League competition. And I think historically we've always competed well in the World Club Challenge, and we've had some notable successes in that. I think the World Club Challenge is a competition that can be developed, and it needs to become part of the annual calendar for both the NRL and indeed for the Betfred Super League. And I think I'm really looking forward to Hull Kingston Rovers becoming the latest and newest winner of the World Club Challenge.
Absolutely. And just going back to the Broncos, Garry, do you a bit further down the track, do you foresee the Broncos being one of the teams that plays in Las Vegas at the start of the season in a few years' time?
I would like to think so, Martyn. I would like to think so. I went to Las Vegas for the first time this year. and I was fascinated by it. And I came back and I did a report for the Leeds Rhinos board. I said, we need to be there. We need to be there. It's a big stage. It's a great stage. It's a great city, by the way. It's such a different city in many respects, but an enjoyable one to be there. I think for rugby league to be at the centre of attention in that city for albeit a limited period of time, but with the NRL, with Super League, with all the fans mingling, great crowd, great stadium. It's a great example of how rugby league can captivate a new audience and actually expand its profile in a different country. So I'd like to think that in the not too distant future, yes, London Broncos could be a team that's playing out in Las Vegas.
Yeah, and again, coming back to London, Garry, the interesting point about if we look at the recent England-Australia series, obviously very disappointing that we got beaten 3-0, but two of the players in the England side, Mike McMeekin and Kai Pearce-Paul, came out of Southern Rugby League, and where they came from, there must be so many more young, players who could have potential to play at that level. I just wonder, whether obviously you see this clearly, and whether you think, that there is an incredible stable of talent just waiting to be unearthed.
Absolutely. I made a pretty bold statement not long ago that London and the south of England could and should become the most fertile producer of players to the professional game, and that's for both male and female. There's quite a number of players emerged from London and populated our game, and that's almost been by accident. And you've just mentioned two there who are in the England squad. So I think there's a lot of rugby union players who would actually be far better rugby league players if there was an opportunity for them to have a go and to give it a try. But I think there's so many communities in London and the south. They're tough communities where they've got talented, gifted, athletical people, young men and women who would be ideally suited to play rugby league. They're probably not playing any sport at all at present, and so rugby league needs to go in and give them an opportunity, develop player pathways for the talented players to be able to progress to the professional game, but to create more community clubs as well. So that's very much part of what we will be doing, and we're going to be connected with, and that's very much part of what the London Foundation's going to be doing, and that's going to be supported by the Leeds Rhinos Foundation, who do a terrific job for rugby league development in the city of Leeds, and they're going to be lending their support and their wisdom and knowledge to London as well, which will be very helpful. So I think there's that many opportunities, but that many challenges as well. But they all need to be tackled, and that's part and parcel of what the new London Broncos are going to be doing. They're going to be hopefully creating a successful team, but they're going to be working towards developing rugby league in London and the south.
Actually, the more you talk about it, Garry, the more I admire you for taking on this challenge. I mean, it really, with respect, Leeds was a big challenge for you, but it was a challenge based on, a history and heritage that was already there, and you could build on it, and you did do, and you're leaving Leeds in a fantastic, with a marvellous stadium and great facilities and terrific support and so on. You've done such a great job there, but the task at London is much greater, it seems to me, because you're starting from a much lower base. It's a you don't shirk a challenge, mate, do you?
To be born and brought up in Castleford, a rugby league town, and the game, as I've said on many occasions, has given me as a fan, as a player, as an administrator, it's given me far more than I could ever give the game back. And I'm very privileged to have been involved in the game all my life, and I'm still keen to be involved as long as I can be. In many ways, the biggest challenge of all, Martyn, was Sheffield Eagles. That was a fair challenge. And I was only in my 20s then. I'd never heard of things like due diligence and market research and such. And that was a great challenge. But, we had remarkable success at Sheffield and built something in in a city that had got no interest in rugby, in truth. But we built something quite special there. And of course, what we've built at Leeds, and Leeds is a different kettle of fish altogether. It does have history and does have heritage and tradition, and it's got a great stadium and a great fan base and such. But we built something very special here at Headingley as well, and at Leeds Rhinos. And the ultimate challenge is indeed London and the South. And of course, I'm not from London. I don't live in London. I'm not going to be living in London. So I don't know London like Londoners know it. But I do know that if we can get it right in London and the South, then that will have a materially benefit to the whole game and to rugby league in England. And that's part and parcel of the excitement of the challenge. And there's that many more opportunities in London. We need to exploit them. And so we're now on a path to trying to do that. But we need the support of as many people as possible. We need the support of the RFL, which is going to be very, very much there. We need every rugby league fan to actually see the benefits of what a successful London can bring to the game and to be supportive in however way they can be.
Yeah. Are you actually recruiting a lot of people, from behind the scenes, because to reach the audience that you want to reach in London, it's although it's such a massive city, that it's difficult to you're dealing with people who probably know virtually nothing about rugby league really, so you somehow need to find a way to reach them, and I wonder. You can't be a one-man band, can you? Which was what the accusation was with David Hughes when he owned the club. That it didn't really create a club that was outgoing, that went out looking for fans.
We've got to be accessible to anybody and everybody that wants to connect, whether they be a fan, a volunteer, a player, or whatever. We want to be accessible. We want to welcome them into the club and into the game. Rugby league's a very welcoming sport, so we want to sort of carry that message to people in London that currently don't know the message, and so there is a huge job, and that's why it's not a one-man job. It's not we need to be connected to all the various parties in London and the South that can help: MPs, local authorities, businesses, companies, people from the north.
Yeah.
All of that, Martyn, we need to be, everybody's got a part to play. Everybody's got a part to play. And we want to create some momentum and a movement to popularise our sport, which is a great sport, in that part of the country. And so that's the task in hand. It's not an easy one. It's not going to be achieved overnight. But I think we know what we want to do. It's going to take a bit of doing, but that's the challenge, and that's the excitement of the challenge.
I think for me, watching it all unfold on the other side of the world, like I'm starting to notice that movement and the traction you're talking about. Like we had the ABC, our national broadcaster over here, do an article on the London Broncos and Darren Lockyer's I think they likened it to the Ryan Reynolds Wrexham sort of move. And I don't know, I just feel like, and even speaking with you, Garry, like it seems like you guys have got that traction behind you now. You know what direction you're heading in. And, if I can play my part on this side of the world and encourage some Aussies to get behind you, I'm sure we would.
Well, there's 100,000 Australians live in London. That's a small city in itself. There's 60,000 Kiwis. There's Tongans, there's Papua New Guineans, there's people from Fiji, there's people from rugby-loving nations. So we need to find a way of connecting with them and welcome them to become supporters. We want supporters from top-end major companies in London, people who go to Premiership football games, go to International Rugby Union games. We want them to come along and to see our facilities and see the sort of welcome that they're going to get, and to go away saying, that's outstanding value for money. We want families in tough areas of London who can't normally afford to pay to watch professional sport we want to be affordable as well. So we want to be able to welcome them to be in the fan base. So we wanted to create a really diverse fan base as well, and to connect with as many Londoners and as many people who's got a passion for rugby league as possible.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I'm certainly looking forward to coming down at some stage, Garry. Can I just widen the conversation a bit? I mentioned already Ashes series, and I'm just curious to know how you perceived it, particularly with your London hat on, but mainly with your England hat on. 3-0 to Australia, obviously disappointing outcome for us, but big crowds, 133,000 in total, a record crowd at Wembley, 60,000. It could have been even more, hopefully, but and sellout crowds at Everton and Headingley. How did you see it? Were you disappointed? Obviously, I assume you were disappointed that we didn't win a game, but how did you see the England performance?
Well, first and foremost, I was delighted that we've got an Ashes series back on track after 20 odd years. It's such a critical part of our history and heritage, and we've got so many successful moments to look back on over the year, albeit a long time, a lot of years. So it's great to be able to host an Ashes series. It was great to be at Wembley. It was great to go to Everton, and it was especially good for me to be for Headingley to be hosting an Ashes series with all its history and heritage. So I think that was terrific. And in terms of the 3 games, I think they were fairly predictable in my view. I didn't expect us to win any of the games. I knew that the Australians would probably be far too strong for us. And we were pretty competitive. We were very competitive, but we weren't good enough to score points against them or to threaten them. And so none of that came as a surprise, unfortunately. And you have to give credit to the Australians. I think in the 90s, when we were quite close to them and we were competing with them and beating them occasionally, we'd probably got about 15 or 16 top-class players, some of them world-class players, like Andy Farrell and Jason Robinson, Shaun Edwards and etc. We'd got about 15 or 16. And, of course, the Australians have probably got about 150 top-class players, but they could only play 15 or 17. So we were competitive. Now, we don't have as many world-class players nowadays as we did then. And even though we were competitive, we were never really threatened to beat them. They were better than us in all departments. There's no doubt about that. So that's the challenge for us and for our game. And it's not an easy challenge, of course, because the game is thriving in Australasia. But I think, first and foremost, it was great to have an Ashes series back on board. I think International Rugby League offers so much potential for our sport. And it's great to see top nations like Fiji and Tonga and Samoa and Papua New Guinea all competing well. We need France to be more competitive. We need England to be more competitive. We want to get an international calendar we've got one for the next 10 years or so. So I think there's so much potential in International Rugby League. But clearly, we in England need to be better than we are at present. And that's going to take a bit of time. And it needs a bit of invention as well. And it needs a bit of creativity. We're not going to just beat them at their own game. We need to come up with something that's a bit different. And every now and again, a coach comes along that introduces something that is a bit different. And everybody else starts to follow. And he gets a jump on them. And it's that type of creative thinking and inventiveness that we need. And I don't have the answer for it, by the way. I can't tell you what it is. But that's what we need to come up with.
The thing I notice about the Australians is that when you get to within 10 metres of their try line, their defence is like a brick wall. And you very rarely score a try against them from short range because their defence is so strong. And I just wonder whether we ought to be trying something. You've said trying something different. Well, I think perhaps trying to attack them from deeper, from maybe even from your own half, which we didn't really do much of. In fact, the only time we did it was when George Williams scored the try at Headingley that was created by Jez Litton running from dummy half. And that was a brilliant try, but it didn't come from close to the Australian line.
Yeah, you're quite right. In 3 games, Martyn, we scored 2 tries against them. And quite honestly, didn't really, and we missed a few chances in other games as well. But yeah, they're a difficult team to score against and they're a difficult team to break down. But you're right. We've got to come up. I think the game generally, not just looking beyond International Rugby League, the game generally has got to be looking. We need our coaches to be creative. We need to look at risk and reward because at present there's probably not enough reward for taking risk in our sport, and that's something that the administrators can look at. And so I think we've got to be mindful that we are in the entertainment business, that we are providing sport for entertainment, and therefore what entertains fans? Well, it's watching line breaks, it's watching wingers get released from the touchline, it's
watching length of the field tries,
watching teams that can put a clever play on to unlock a defence, and they're all intricate parts of the game. Now, coaches have worked out that the best way of winning games in many ways is to be is to create a very safe environment where you don't lose possession and you make yardage and you make gains and you kick to the right places and you get more players challenging for the ball than the defenders. That's all pretty boring from a visual point of view, but it's effective. So you can't blame the coaches. But what we lack in the past, we used to have administrators in many ways that were one step ahead of the coaches.
Exactly.
Now we've not got that anymore. The intelligence sits with the coaches, and they are all of a mindset to create safe environments for safety first tactics and percentage gains. And so we need some really creative administrators who get ahead of the game and can start to implement. We've got to change behaviours, and you're not going to change behaviours with minimal actions. No. We need to be able to do something that can be quite thought-provoking and actually it'll change the behaviour as a coach. Something ridiculous, like if, for example, and I'm not advocating this, by the way, but if we awarded a 20-point try for every try that was scored from a play the ball inside your own half, then that would change behaviours. Coaches would say, we've got to come up with a play to score a try from our own half. Absolutely. What do we need to do? And they would start practicing it and thinking about it and being creative about it. At present, we're not challenging them enough.
Well, funny enough, I've written
we need awarding
5 points. We should be awarding 5 points or even more for a try that originates from a play the ball in your own half.
That's just some sort of simplistic example, but as I said, at the end of the day, you've got to actually change behaviours, and it's got to be something that's got to force a change of behaviour, not only amongst one coach, but amongst a whole group of them. And I think that's where we've got quite a lot of intelligence. People start creating maybe a slightly different game, but it may be a better spectacle. So we should be prepared to go down that route.
Let me throw a difficult question though at you, Garry. Again, relating to the Ashes series, obviously. The RFL is reviewing what happened and so on. Would you stick with Shaun Wane now for the England as the England coach for the World Cup next year?
Look, I think what I've read in the papers is the RFL are going to be doing a thorough review, and Shaun needs to be part of that review. In terms of looking back on terms of what was done, what could have been done, what wasn't done, what may have been done. I think you've got to be really. You've got to go into every, leave no stone unturned. So there needs to be a very thorough review into that preparation, the team selection, and everything that goes with it. And to be honest, in terms of the outcome of it, and it may well be that they couldn't have actually done much else to have improved things. We have to accept that the Australians have got more better players than we've got. And they've got a stronger side, so that's a starting point that they've got to understand and accept. I think, as I said a bit earlier, we were competitive in the past. I remember in the years gone by, the Australians in many ways were playing a different game to us. That's no longer the case, but they are ahead of us, and we need to find a way of getting in front of them.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, with your Leeds hat on again for a moment. Probably the most controversial element of England's preparation for the Ashes was the omission of Jake Connor, obviously a Leeds player, man of steel and so on. He's the sort of player who, in the past, when we talk about doing unexpected things, I know Jake is inconsistent sometimes, but I just wonder whether, we might have been better having somebody with his unpredictability in the England squad.
Well, look, that's the beauty of the sport. Everybody's got an opinion, and that's fine. I would say I'd always be supportive of the coach, because the coach is the bloke who's right at the coalface. He he doesn't need telling what to think about because he's already thought about it. And coaches do. They spend all the time thinking about this scenario, that scenario, this, that, and the other. So, he will have considered all the points that you make, Martyn, and what many other people will make as well. He will have considered all them, and he comes up with a judgment call at the end of the day. And he's doing it in what he believes to be in the best interest of the team. So I think that all coaches are pretty much of that ilk. And so I would always be supportive of the coach because I think he's considered all aspects of it, and he's doing whatever he considers to be in the best interest of the team.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And just before we go, because I'm a bit conscious now, we've been talking for nearly an hour, Garry. There's been a significant news story in the last week or two about this dispute between the International Rugby League and the Rugby Football League in relation to monies that Troy Grant of the IRL claims are owed by the RFL to the IRL in relation to the World Cup in 2022. Did you have a view on that? I mean, it seems very odd that Troy is trying to fight that battle in the media rather than on a face-to-face basis with the current administration of the RFL.
All I know is what I've read in the papers. It does seem strange that 3 years has lapsed before you come along with a claim. And I read where the RFL are refuting that claim. They said it's no basis really. So I just find it strange and a bit unfortunate really, because you would like to think that things can get settled at the time, not 3 years later, and to try and settle something 3 years later that's is probably an impossible ask anyway. So I can't really comment any further than that because I don't know much else about it.
No, okay. And very final thing, Garry, the Salford situation obviously doesn't concern you directly, but the club has now finally entered into liquidation proceedings, and hopefully a new club will arise from the ashes of the Salford club. It's quite distressing, isn't it, to see a club going under in that sort of way?
Absolutely. The Salford they've been an embarrassment for the last season as such for the game, and it's but they've managed to come through the season, and that's credit to whoever's made that happen. But I think they are a very proud club. They need to be preserved. They need to be rebuilt, and I think they've got a stadium. They've got a history and they've got a heritage. They've got a fan base. They need more business support. They need the people of Manchester and Salford and that region to come behind them and really buy into Salford Rugby League Club and resurrect it and hopefully they can become a powerful club in the future. So it is unfortunate. Probably. I think this winding up petition has brought some closure to the situation. What the game now needs is a new Salford, and we need to do whatever we can to support that.
Absolutely, yeah, I totally agree with you.
Absolutely. All right, gents. Well, as Martyn said, we've really been going for an hour now, so we'll let you get back to it, Garry. Really appreciate your time today, mate. So thanks for coming on.
No trouble. I've enjoyed it. Thank you.
We look forward to having you. We look forward to having you on again soon, mate. Especially
and we'll hopefully see you down at the your training centre.
Of course, you're to come. Yeah. Thank you.
Great stuff. Thank you, mate.
All right. Thanks, fellas.